Ready? Clap and then the city knows.
The Columbus City Council meeting for May 1st, 2023 will come to order. In compliance with the Open Meeting Act, Nebraska Revised Statute 84-1407, a current copy of this act is posted in this meeting room. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Bulkley.
Here.
Augustine Schulte.
Here.
Barr.
Here.
Freshour.
Here.
Hemer.
Here.
Jablonski.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Mayor Bulkley, the roll has been called.
Thank you. Mrs. Council President.
Our Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens. Please give us your wisdom and guidance to make the proper decisions entrusted to this governmental body. May our conduct show respect, honor, and courtesy to each other, as well as to all our citizens. Amen. Amen. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. If at any time during our meeting this evening anyone in the audience would like to address any item on our agenda, we'd ask that you please come forward, give your name, your address, and we'd ask that you'll keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Item 4, consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a City Council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent status and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item 4A, minutes of the April 17th, 2023 City Council meeting. Item 4B, resolution number R23-64, approving the agreement with Nebraska Department of Transportation, Aeronautics Division, at an amount not to exceed $23,200 for crack and joint sealing at the airport. Item 4C, resolution number R23-65, authorizing payment of various improvement projects. Item 4D, quote from Iowa Pump Works Incorporated in the amount of $11,756.64 for pump repair at the wastewater treatment facility. And item 4E, payroll and bills on file. Mr. Mayor and Council, is there anything you would like removed from consent status?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the items on the consent agenda be approved as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Brings us up to special presentations. We've been requested to give 3 proclamations this evening. So I would begin this evening with the first proclamation for National Safety Month. Whereas the rate of unintentional injuries and deaths in the United States remain at unacceptable levels, and whereas preparing for emergencies, mitigating falls, preventing heat-related illness, and recognizing hazards remain critical to preventing injuries and deaths in the United States, and whereas the cost of unintentional injuries to workers and their employers exceed $163.9 billion each year and causes great suffering among individuals and their families. Whereas Nebraska residents and all workers deserve to live in communities that promote safe and healthy living. And whereas preventing unintentional injuries and death requires the cooperation of all levels of government, employers, and the general public. And whereas the National Safety Council, founded in 1913, was congressionally chartered in 1953 to lead this nation in injury prevention through safety and health information, education, training, and advocacy in the United States. And whereas the Nebraska chapter of the National Safety Council and the National Safety Council work to promote policies, practices, procedures leading to increased safety, protection, and health in industry and businesses, in schools and colleges, on roads and highways, in homes and communities. And whereas the Nebraska chapter of the National Safety Council and the National Safety Council in 2023 will provide this nation with a month-long public education campaign. And whereas the summer season is a time of increased rates of unintentional injuries and deaths, and it is an appropriate time to focus attention on injury risks and preventions. Now, therefore, I, James B. Bulkley, the mayor of the city of Columbus of Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as National Safety Month in Columbus, Nebraska, and urge all citizens and businesses to practice safe and healthy behaviors in all aspects of their lives. Secondly, I would have a proclamation for the National Prevention Week. Whereas substance misuse and mental health problems affect all communities nationwide. According to the 2021 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 61.2 million Americans aged 12 and older used illicit drugs in the past year. Nearly 6 million young people aged 12 to 20 reported drinking alcohol in the past month. 22% of Americans, 74 million people aged 12 and older, used tobacco products or used an e-cigarette or other vaping device to vape nicotine in the past month. Additionally, in 2021, 8.7 million Americans misused prescription pain relievers. And whereas with the commitment and support, these and other substance users and mental health issues can be prevented. The focus of National Prevention Week is to change the prevention landscape by providing evidence-based and accessible resources to facilitate collective action and story sharing. By showcasing the work of our partners in prevention, we can confront the societal challenges surrounding substance misuse together while celebrating stories of prevention. And whereas that's a message we need to spread far and wide, an estimated 29.5 million people aged 12 and older in America were classified as having alcohol misuse disorder in the past year, and about 57.8 million adults had a mental illness. The impact of mental and substance misuse disorders is apparent. We have the power to change these numbers and, more importantly, change lives. And whereas through National Prevention Week, people become more aware and able to recognize the signs of mental health and substance use disorders, equally important, community members from all walks of life learn how they can help implement prevention strategies and showcase the effectiveness of evidence-based programs. And whereas we and others across the United States need to recognize the seriousness of substance use and mental health issues in our communities, the power of prevention and the tireless effort of those working to make a difference. The small, daily actions done by individuals combined with the actions of families, communities, and coalitions come together to make up the larger, bold movement of prevention. And now, therefore, I, James B. Bulkley, the mayor of Columbus, Nebraska, do hereby proclaim the week of May 7th through 13th, 2023 as National Prevention Week. And finally, I would like to have a proclamation for some of those we hold dear to us this evening. It's Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest amongst public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the professional municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, James B. Bulkley, the mayor of the city of Columbus of Nebraska, do hereby recognize the week of April 30th through May 6, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our local professional municipal clerk and her staff, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. With that, I'd like to give ours a hand. All right, we'll move on to kind of the reports of council committees.
We have item 6D first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Demonstration of the robot by the police department.
Oh, maybe I didn't. Oh, I apologize. I went right past that.
This is our avatar. It is meant for entry into houses. Say they got somebody that's inside a house that they want to get in there and they don't want to send an officer in first. This robot can actually open doors, make entry first. It's got cameras. It climbs stairs.
Man, we don't have a cream pie.
I know, this is getting scary, Charlie. Yeah, look where he stopped.
Yeah.
Hello.
Pull a
It's
tooth,
got
huh?
actually cameras, so everything, I can see everything on there. Control it. Let's go. There's a lot of electronics that doesn't want to work very well.
Oh,
The little box isn't sturdy enough.
It'll help.
But like this actually rotates, so I can actually open doorknobs, push the doors open. It's got camera up here, I got a camera down below. It's got infrared, so when it is dark, I can turn the infrared cameras on so I can see in the dark.
like a night vision
Night
type thing.
vision.
All right, awesome.
We also have another one where I can take the arm off, and if I just want to go see what's around the corner or whatever, if there's another camera, I can just put on there and I can go quicker, so we don't have to worry about the arm. We are actually going to start working with K9. One of the big things is K9 hasn't worked with it yet, but my goal is to
Squeeze in the box.
home. So once we get, once I get with canine, we're gonna go into schools and stuff, and so the canine actually gets used to this, because it's.
Because you would think that would scare them, yeah, yeah.
So that'll actually help with entry in the houses. So like this will actually open the door so that the canine can go in there. Have any questions about it?
Go ahead, Beth. Go
I was
ahead.
going to say, how much time do you spend training in how to use it? And how many other people will all of the police force be training on how to use it, or?
There's a couple officers that have been training on it. So far, it's just been me, mostly. One of them, he's retiring here in a month or so. Right now, it's just me. So I'll take it home and practice going upstairs or turn the lights off in the house, go through the dark, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot easier for me to do it than an officer, because if we need an officer to go into the house, since I don't carry a weapon, they can go in and I can control this for them.
Oh, I see. Mhm.
How fast can it move?
Let me get it off. So it's the tricky part. So top speed. I can use top speed there, or I can change it to a lower speed. Especially when you're working with doors and stuff like that. If you go too quick, if you're having a high speed, it's hard to open the doors and stuff.
And how much is the cost for one?
$68,000, we got it with a grant.
Wow, okay.
He said $68,000 that we got with a grant. I'm only repeating so the public can hear what
Captain said.
Captain said.
There is another, what's the other thing that goes on there?
There's a device that actually mounts on here. We take the arm off, we put the 360 camera on. We can actually put a multi-ray device on, a multi-ray device. Some of you were at the fire department, they look for hazardous flammable materials. And we can also put a Geiger counter on here too. We have the device for that. It's actually an adapter that sits on here, so if we have the device, we can plug it in.
In the past 24 months, how many opportunities would you have had to use something like this? And will this also maybe be used by some associate departments that that are around us? Would you be called on for that?
We could be, we've put it out there for that.
Okay.
We've had, before we got it, we had 2 opportunities where we could have utilized it.
Okay.
Since we've got it, we've had 0 opportunities, thank God.
Oh, good, it's
Yeah.
working.
We can utilize this in conjunction with the drone and the canine at the same time. So, we've had opportunities where we've already utilized the canine and the drone together. And now we're gonna try and get the dog used to the robot itself, so we can utilize all 3 tools at the same time, if we have to.
All tools that keep staff, officers safe. All tools that
Oh,
keep
absolutely.
officers safe and,
The,
yep.
the incident where we had to use the drone and the canine, barricaded subject, we never sent one officer in. So we didn't risk the life of an officer. We utilized the drone to watch the subject, and we deployed the canine on a tether and was able to apprehend the subject and bring him out.
Awesome.
No human life was at risk at that point in time.
Excellent.
Very good. Any other questions? Very neat. Thank you.
Awesome.
Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. All right, that will then take us up to reports of council committees.
Item 10A is Public Property Safety and Works Committee of April 10th, 2023. Item 10A1 was the cost share of paving and infrastructure for 2023. The Public Property Safety and Works Committee recommends the city cost share of paving and infrastructure for 2023 be approved.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of this committee report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this committee report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. It brings us up to new business.
New business, item 13A, comments from the mayor and city council members, and in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, no discussion may be held on this item.
Do we have any council members with comments this evening? I have none, but I would yield my time and ask our city administrator if she would give us just a brief summary of her week last week.
Yes. So last week we had our first interactive exchange with the Rural Welcoming Communities Exchange Program that myself and Liz Rodriguez with Centro Hispano are part of. So we went out to San Jose, California, and met the rest of our exchange group in person. So that is 8 representatives across the United States and 8 representatives across Australia. And so we got to know each other and got to know each other's communities and the unique, issues that everybody are dealing with. And then we were in San Jose for the Welcoming Interactive Conference, which is a very large conference. I think there were 660 participants in the conference. There was everybody from the Centro team was there. I'll yield that to Kat if she wants to comment on that. But we had a really great time, learned a lot of valuable lessons. One of the big reasons I wanted to get involved in this is just because we don't know what we don't know, and we need to do better about educating ourselves, obviously, because the Rural Welcoming Exchange is really about people and communities and learning what local government, partnering with other agencies and communities, can do to make sure that our community is a place where everyone can thrive. Whether they're lifelong residents, they move here across the state, they move here across the country, or they move here from somewhere across the world. We want to make sure that everybody can thrive in Columbus, because the more individuals and families thrive, the more Columbus as a whole thrives. So that's really the premise of the whole Welcoming Interactive. So we learned a lot of really great lessons. We visited, after the conference, we visited the Central Valley in California, which is where all of the mass majority of the agriculture in California takes place. So we visited several communities and met with community leaders and talked about various local policies and local just topics with them, which was very educational. Really, the first exchange was awesome. I'm looking forward to the rest. We have several virtual events, and then in October, Liz and I will go to Australia for a similar event in Australia, and 100% of all of the expenses related to this program are covered by the Welcoming America group, which is a nonprofit group that accepted our application into the program. So excited. Officially, myself and Centro are going to sit down and debrief and put together a more formal what we learned, what we think we can do coming out of this. So that will be to come, and will involve Matt Lindberg, our communications manager, in that, so we can share that with the whole community. Kat, do you want to add anything?
I will not be going to Australia, but no, I just want to highlight too that the conference was really enlightening and kind of getting obviously like our city governance and stuff, but also other cities and how they're doing. And just want to shout out Columbus, because a lot of the things that people are struggling to do, we are doing. So it's just highlighting Columbus as a whole. And I'm really proud to be in a city that's embracing welcoming and belonging work. So, yeah.
Awesome, very good.
Thank you.
Sounds like a great trip.
Was.
Looking forward to hearing more. All right, then we'll move on to resolutions.
Item 14A, resolution number R23-66, approving the tolling agreement with the International Association of Firefighters Local 1575 and named individuals to review the potential overtime calculation issues. Oh, that's right.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of resolution number R23-66.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution number R23-66. Any discussion? And with that
Question
question,
for Neil, what's a tolling agreement?
It's simple. It's agreeing to basically suspend the statute of limitations for certain kinds of claims in this situation. And the reason that they're doing that is to try to see if there could be a mutual agreement as to figuring out if there, one, is an issue, and two, if there is an issue, how to go best about figuring that out, instead of right away filing a lawsuit and then going through formal discovery and drawing up attorney's fees, court costs, all the different expenses that come along with that.
It's the most efficient way to rectify the issue.
I've never heard that tolling agreement.
so would you,
It stops it where it's at, and then when the agreement's over, if it's not resolved, it would pick up the time frame.
so Tara,
Sure, I
would
can
you
explain
please
a
just
little
give
bit about
give
what
a little
this is.
history
Sure.
of what we're talking about here?
Sure.
please?
So we being the city of Columbus have had obviously paid personnel at the fire department. This will also impact the police department. But we've had paid personnel within those departments for many, many, many decades. And some time ago, it became commonplace to pay extra for certain educational attainments. So those are paid as a stipend. So if you're a paramedic, you get a certain stipend. If you're, those sorts of, if you have a degree, you get an extra pay, basically. Well, those are not included in the base wage. They're included as a stipend. Well, historically, the city of Columbus has not included those stipends when paying overtime for a variety of reasons. But FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act, is very complicated and has changed a lot. And we thought we were interpreting it, we being the finance department, and we had an initial conversation with our attorney that we use most often for employment, FLSA sorts of things, and we thought we were doing it appropriately. Well, then some of the members of the fire department did a training, an FLSA training, multi-day thing, and really felt strongly that we weren't doing it correctly. And again, I want to reiterate, this is how it has always been done. Nobody's changed anything. So the fire department contacted their attorney that represents their union. They contacted us, so we started this. We looked into it. We do believe there needs to be some corrections made, so that's why we're entering into this tolling agreement, so we can make those and move forward. Jojo's here. He's the president of the union. I don't know, Jojo, if you have anything to add to that, or if anybody has questions for the union, but it's gonna, we don't believe that the exposure for the city is insurmountable or significant, I would say, but it is something that we need to correct.
So how far back can they go?
That will all be determined.
Okay.
And I think it's really important for us and the public to understand that, it's simply one of those, this is the way it's always been, and we assumed it was always being done right because it had never been brought to our attention. It's typically, if you don't know it ain't wrong, how do you know it's wrong? And it was brought to our attention, and the discussions have begun, and that's the process moving forward. And when I say forever, I'm talking forever. This has gone back for many, 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 many years.
Ever since there's been an education stipend, this is
Yeah.
how it's been handled. So we'll get to the bottom of it and correct what needs to be corrected and move forward.
Have we had a chance to look at other cities and
Well-
if we're in conjunction with them?
We did that before the fire union contacted their attorney, and the short answer is everybody does everything a little bit differently. And it's a very complex topic. So we want to make sure we're doing it right, and that when we did that research, we felt like we were doing it correctly based on what others were telling us they were doing. But we're going to figure it out for certain and move forward.
And then that is the whole reason for the tolling, is the way to put this on hold, time out while everybody does homework and investigating, and then come back together and move forward.
Right.
All right.
Time frame?
Yes.
At a time?
I mean, it's basically on the attorney's timetables, I guess. Jojo, has your attorney given you any time frame? No. They're talking.
They're doing their attorney thing.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So, well, sorry, Neil, but we'll,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sure Jojo will make sure if there's any action items on the union side that they act, and I'll do the same. If there's any action that comes, that the city needs to take care of, we will do the same, and we'll get it resolved just as quickly as possible.
Last thing we wanna do is go to court. We just
Yeah, same.
We would be in the same position, sir. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second for resolution R 23-66. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned.